So joining me now to dig into all of it, Amrita Sen, founder and director of market intelligence at Energy Aspects, and retired Vice Admiral Kevin Donegan, former commander of the U.S. Fifth Fleet. He's now a senior distinguished fellow at the Middle East Institute. It's great to have you both here. And Admiral, I'm going to kick this off with you. What is perhaps a very simple question, but I have yet to hear a simple answer to it, and that is, why does Iran still have this fleet of small speedboats that are able to conduct these attacks and cause so much havoc right now?
Morgan, that's a great question, and the way that I look at it, the lens that I look at this from is, the challenge of the Straits of Hormuz is it's just about 21 nautical miles wide. So think about geography as being one of the key reasons. And the other thing is that the Iranians still have, I'll call it a lingering threat. So we know their Navy was decimated, their Air Force was decimated, and we know that their sensors were taken out. So they're pretty much blinded. But they still have, they still have geography to their advantage, and they have a residual capability related to drones and missiles, and these small boats can hide in crevices and cracks in the terrain that's around there. And so what they've done is force a shift in traffic flow north of the normal highway that's used for the ships to come and go, and really close to the Iranian coast. So it's not just 21 miles away, it's just a matter of a mile or two away from their coastline that they're asking ships to travel. And what the U.S. did yesterday and through the night the day before was open up a new passageway that they say is to be used for free flow of commerce, and it's south of this normal highway. They cleared it first of mines, and then, as you saw, were successfully in getting the first ships that had been stuck in the Arabian Gulf through that new passageway. So maritime superiority is a lot like air superiority. It's the U.S. has it, right? The blockade is still in effect, and now they're working to open this new passageway, and now encouraging other ships to start using it. And time will tell. It won't be an instant turn on, but we can expect to see more ships than just the two move through.
Amrita, the fact that I realize that crude oil prices are still elevated. We saw a big jump yesterday. What is it going to take to actually see those prices come down in a more meaningful way? Is it going to be like a full opening of the Strait of Hormuz, an actual resolution to this conflict, or is two ships, a handful of ships a day, enough to ease the markets in the meantime?
No, I don't think it's enough to ease the markets. If anything, I'd say prices are not high enough, right? We're losing close to 12 million barrels per day every day. Hormuz remains disrupted because production is shut in across the region, and Iranian production is actually starting to come off as well. So, I'm surprised and remain amazed that the futures market continues to discount just how much supplies we are losing. The physical market has, right? We've priced $150, $160, and I do think it's a matter of time that the futures market catches up. In terms of the flows, I mean, the two ships that have gone through, to be clear, are not necessarily starting a flow of oil tankers, right? These are very much humanitarian reasons, and that's what we've seen. Some of the crews that's been stuck, and that's why we're trying to get them out. If anything, we continue to see in the attacks that happened yesterday, Iran reminding everyone that they are very much in control of what passes. They are asking for details. Every shipper we speak to is extremely concerned about passing through Hormuz right now and just not willing to take the risk.
So, Admiral, in light of that, how sustainable is it for the U.S. Navy to accompany these ships through the Strait of Hormuz right now? And I know you mentioned the cracks and crevices that some of these small speedboats can hide in, but, I mean, isn't there a way we can actually do a better job of targeting some of these, what is the word I'm looking for? Weapons, systems, capabilities that Iran continues to have?
Yes, and I think that's what part of this does, right? This operation to gain that last bit of maritime superiority, which is related to their lingering capability, is going to take a little bit of time to get at. As you saw, Iran will fire for effect, so to speak. They don't have the sensors. They launched at ships that weren't really in the straits or transiting the straits, and they launched at fixed targets on the ground. That was their retaliation, because it's really all they can kind of see in the area. But you're right that the flow of the ships going through, it isn't all of a sudden going to be all the tankers are going to start moving through. But this is a big breakthrough because the passage that we used is a new passage. It's south of the normal scheme. It was declared free of mines. And now we'll see if we can start moving not just the ships out, because this operation was designed and advertised by Brad Cooper and CENTCOM to start out by relieving the pressure of the ships that were stuck there, but to eventually restore what's normal rules of order, free flow of commerce both directions.
And finally, Amrita, I just have to ask you about what we're seeing in terms of Iran continuing to target critical infrastructure. We saw it yesterday with the UAE again. That's the other piece of this puzzle, and part of the reason that so many executives come on our air and talk about higher for longer for oil and other commodities prices and for getting supply chains back to a place of quote-unquote normal.
Absolutely. And I think what was interesting is it wasn't just the attacks on ships. Like you said, Fujairah was unfortunately attacked again. And, you know, we had seen over the last couple of days, potentially a week and a bit, UAE had been carrying about 6 or 7 VLCCs through Hormuz, carrying their oil from offshore fields to Fujairah. And I think that is probably now going to stop, given what has happened. And I think that's why I go back to what I was saying. Iran is really telling the world that it is still very much in control of Hormuz and the Strait there. And the thing about infrastructure is very similar to what we get told about tankers. It just needs one attack, right? And then everybody is very mindful of should we be investing, should we be restarting any of these facilities? And I was just in the region having come back. I do think the damage that the infrastructure has sustained in the region is bigger than what we appreciate. And two, the recovery time is just going to be that much longer because people still think even the current ceasefire is extremely fragile and they don't want to take the risk.